Welcome to Merschman Seeds Cup of Joe. On this episode, tar spot is showing up in fields. Evaluate your options to manage your yield impact. Lynn discusses fungicide application at the R2 to R3 stage. Look out for the WASDE report coming on Monday. And Joe has a big wheat announcement.
Hi, this is Joe Merschman, and welcome to Merschman Seeds Cup of Joe. Today we have Lynn and Turk. Ben's doing his local civic duty, working on the rodeo in Fort Madison, Iowa, so he's not here with us today, but we still have plenty of good information to share, so let's start with Lynn.
Yeah, today I just wanted to talk a little bit about tar spot. We had some tar spot presents come in. Joe, you were out with a grower and took a look at that, so just wanted to visit a little bit about that because it is an issue that is always in the back of our mind. It seems like this year, locally, I could say that we're probably not as heinous in the development of tar spot, but we have not had the disease triangle aspects as bad as we had the year before. A little bit with that, we saw last year wind and water definitely were not our friends when it came to the tar spot moving field to field. So we've been dry, wind has been what it's been, but we just haven't had those perfect conditions. But we still have had apparently enough conditions because this particular field was, did you say it was triple fungicide play?
It had Xyway, which is, the 2x2, well actually it was Y dropped on fungicide, that basically right after planting, and which will supposedly protect the plant till tassel, and then it had 2 post applications of fungicide. So, we still saw tar spot, so it's kind of alarming from the standpoint of putting the maximum effort out there, but it was very minor. In other words, not going to have a yield impact. But and then again, we looked at some of the other varieties that he had on the farm, and we did not see hardly any tar spot. So I think what we're doing is we're seeing some segregation between varieties. So as time goes along, I think if you're starting to see tar spot in your area, you better start paying really close attention to varieties besides doing a good spray program.
Yeah, there definitely seems to be a hybrid susceptibility component to that, where certain ones just seem to be just more susceptible to it.
Hilda varieties in general that haven't had any effort put into that tar spot breeding. But I just listened to a guy talk this morning on a podcast, and he was talking about extreme northeast Iowa and Wisconsin, the area that's been getting that rain belt up there a lot is a lot worse on that tar spot issue this year.
You got to be ready for it because it's everywhere, and then you talk to farmers in the areas where they had it really bad, and it's very, very devastating. Very devastating.
Yeah. If you haven't done anything to manage it, it's going to have a major yield impact.
Yeah. Pulled an article from Michigan State. They did a multi-state trials on it, and what I thought was pretty interesting is that of all the products that they use, everything had a response. Some was just a little bit better than the others. So as we're looking at tar spot in the future, I would say this year, just anecdotally talking to guys around this area and beyond, fungicide application on corn was definitely up. Talking to retailers, they were saying that getting an airplane or a helicopter or a drone was very hard to get because the application of fungicide on corn was a lot higher. So I'll have Alex, so we can post a link to it. The stuff that stuck out to me was there was a lot of severity differences in the different forms of fungicide, but when you looked at it from a yield component, the yields were all very similar across the board. So interesting piece there that some of that has to probably do with timing when we put our fungicide application. We're not really hoping on tar spot really isn't a curative aspect. It is, let's just push that window out till we get beyond R5 or whenever we get to physiological maturity. And some of those products maybe do just a little bit better job than the others. And that's, right now, with Joe talking about seeing it, locally, we're probably beyond the point of, an application isn't going to do you any good. We're beyond that. But, if you're a little bit later or the garden spots, actually talking to a dealer up in Wisconsin, they were talking about, they have had more rain in the month of August than our test plot out at Houghton, Iowa has had the whole growing season. So we definitely want to look at protecting the plant up into physiological maturity. Locally though, we're burning up too fast, and we're going to start seeing maturity if it hasn't already happened in some of our early stuff. The other thing I thought was interesting in aspect to you're talking about the Xyway application, what they had found was that early applications was nice, but it's just not giving us that season-long protection. So we potentially have to look at coming in and that between R1 to R3 time frame to give us that final little bit of a push on that. So
I think the Xyway application is going to help your stock integrity against stock rot, and then also basically, like you say, push everything back. Again, I think if you want maximum protection, you're going to have to put another post on for sure.
The nice part about Xyway too is when we last year around here, with tar spot, it's a problem before we ever see it. So with Xyway, we're giving ourselves ammunition to push that window out a little bit further, especially in the potential of hybrids that have susceptibility. If we're putting on that application, we're definitely seeing that. Anecdotally, a farmer put it on last year and then came in with an airplane, and that double application, it was almost a 30 bushel difference between the two.
And just a little footnote on Xyway is an FMC fungicide product that goes 2x2. Can't go on the seed. In other words, we don't like to see it on seed because it's pretty hot and it can cause uneven emergence. It can be wide dropped. There is a low rate that can be put on the seed, but our experts tell us don't put it on the seed. Whereas put it either as a wide drop or 2x2. But it's a new fungicide that put on at planting can give you protection until tassel. So that's kind of a game changer in this industry, and so many farmers who have that capability are looking at FMC Xyway as a you don't have to worry about getting a helicopter or drone or whatever. In other words, you evaluate at tassel, and then you decide if you need another application.
And if this being being what it is as far as tar spots, never going to go away. It definitely gives you some flexibility in that second application as we've getting more and more fungicide use. Like I said, talking with the retailers, that it's just it sounds morbid, but we're losing pilots both from retirement and from accidents, and there's no generation coming in to replace that. So the demand on these crop dusters is very high. And it's just hard to get across all those acres. So if we can do anything to maximize our window or extend our application time frame for a post application, it's definitely helpful on everyone.
Yeah, and another thing that's coming, Pattern Ag, the DNA soil testing, they are doing testing this fall for measuring the amount of tar spot that's in the residue. And so they expect a year from now that you'll be able to go ahead and do a DNA soil test on your farm and then be able to predict the levels of tar spot in your soil. Now, keep in mind it can still blow in too, so if your neighbor has it really bad, it could still infect you. But it's going to be another tool in the toolbox, at least to evaluate, what you have present and at what levels. And so we'll see a year from now if that comes true from Pattern Ag. Turk, everybody's sitting on the sideline waiting for Monday's report.
Yep, the WASDE report's be coming out Monday, and there's everybody and their brothers got a yield prediction out there, and pretty much across the board it's all lower. So the trade expectation is for the numbers to come down. Now, will they come down to where the private estimates are? I doubt it. They're going to stair-step it down in my opinion, if they do. But there could be fireworks next week. But I think this week's been a positioning week in the markets, anyway, for people to figure out where they are by the end of the week. Everything's kind of stabilized and been hanging right in a certain level, and so we'll see what Monday brings. And but the rains have not helped us all that much that we've gotten, and I'm thinking that the tip back is continuing on a lot of this corn that missed those rains. The people that have, you've got the haves and the have-nots. The people that got rain are holding in there or improving, and the people that haven't, I think, are still continue to tip back and go backwards. So soybeans, another story, isn't it, Joe? We're going to see some small beans in some areas, and then we're going to see some really good beans in others. So I think you talked about that before. Variability in the field is going to be huge. Even within the fields, as those spotty rains hit one part of the field and not another. So I think everybody's seen that this year, that you don't have to go very far to have a big difference in the amount of rainfall you got. So the other thing I want to talk about is the basis on the corn and the soybeans. There's still some really good opportunities for soybeans especially, but there's no harvest going on there, so I don't know. But that's going to go away very, very fast. And on the corn side, check with your alcohol processors, and because they're willing to take some pretty wet corn right now to get corn in the door. But again, that basis is going to collapse very quickly. It already has, but there's still pretty good basis in some areas.
Well, it's time will tell. Next week will be an interesting week, and some rain in the forecast across the Midwest Sunday night, I guess. So we'll see. I want to talk about one of my favorite topics, and that's wheat. And just remind farmers, plant your wheat in dust, and your bins will bust, is what the old timers used to say. And we definitely got a lot of dust around here in the wheat growing area. So the thing with wheat is, I know many farmers have been struggling the last few years to try to get their corn and soybeans planted on time. You can diversify a little bit and take a little workload off you by planting wheat this fall. 100 bushel wheat is very much easy to do now compared to what it was 10, even 15 years ago. And we've seen plots with high management where they put the same level of management like they do in corn, 140, 150 bushel wheat this past year. And then we're moving our maturities up earlier and earlier to push that double crop. And we're going to leak a little bit of news today about a new variety that we're going to plant our pilot production of. It's the earliest wheat that we've ever seen in the history of our company. And I know we have Binti and Katie, which are very early, ultra early wheats. This one here is maybe 4, maybe 5 days earlier than Binti and Katie. So in our area here at West Point, which is right on the Iowa Missouri line, we think this new variety, and time will tell, will come out around June 15th. And it will be available in 2024, the fall of 2024.
And it still yields.
And it yields. Yeah, it was at the top of the yield trial. So an early line that yields with the full seasons and medium seasons. And of course, we have Maddie, which is our number one seller, and it's a medium early. Works quite well, and it's just phenomenal in yield. So we still have a good supply of wheat. The reason why we have a good supply of wheat is because our seed fields yielded so well this year, and the quality is the best that we've had in years. So this is a great fall to plant wheat and to manage it, spread your workload. The biggest concern that almost everybody has right now is droughts start in the fall. And I've seen the long-range forecast from our forecaster, and they're calling for a dry October, a dry November, and a dry December. So at what point are we going to replenish our subsoil moisture? So wheat might make sense as a hedge against drought.
And if somebody does want to do crop insurance, September 30th is the deadline to get that crop insurance in place. In the past, it's not been a big deal, but when you start talking about 100, 150 bushel wheats, if you can prove your 5-year history, you can have that as your established yield, just like corn and soybeans. And so, if somebody has all their information and is willing to turn that in, you can lock in some pretty good things. We're still in that discovery period until the 15th on wheat, but once we get there, you'll only have 2 weeks to get crop insurance if you decide to do that.
Yeah, and we did have a little bit of an uptick in the wheat market this past week. making it a little bit more attractive, because of some controversy over in Ukraine, and with Mr. Putin decided maybe we shouldn't ship products out of Ukraine. So the wheat thing has promise, and you can move it a lot farther north, that double crop now, with some of the varieties, the Katie that we have and the Binti that we have. So we'll always have options. Some of the options are better than others, but definitely want to take a look at them. Well, I have a couple corny jokes, okay? And I know, like I said, last week I told you that I was feeling pretty good about our jokes, and a farmer down there in Missouri told me I need to beef it up a little bit. So I'll see if this holds true, okay? This is a dad and a son talking, okay? And the son asks the dad, "Dad, are we pyromaniacs?" If you're not familiar with that term, that's somebody that likes to play with fire, So the son asks the dad, "Dad, are we pyromaniacs?" And Dad said, "Yes, we are, son."
Okay.
Our son. Okay. All right. Sorry. All right. We can see if we can up it a little bit here. All right. At Merschman Seeds, and a lot of our customers, they're always pushing the envelope. Okay. So this one here, no matter how much you push the envelope, it will always be stationary.
That's a good one.
I like that one.
Okay. Anyhow, that's it for this week. I know farmers are really going to be busy here starting next week with the combines getting everything ready, and harvest looks like it could be 2 weeks early. So that's good, and we'll get this crop out, and hopefully it's better than what we expected. So hope you and your family are safe and healthy, and we'll see you next week. Take care.